and thank you for watching.
Today we have the AudioControls Epicenter 1200 and 600 watt amplifier. It's also the model numbers. Stay tuned. Alright, so last year AudioControls got in the amplifier game with these two amplifiers here, the Epicenter 1200 and the Epicenter 600. Now what they did is they leveraged the product that people, dude, this thing's been around forever, and that's the Epicenter. The Epicenter is a bass restoration device that helps to improve drastically improve bass where it doesn't exist, whether it be lost from recording or it's just crap. The Epicenter will go ahead and bring it back. Some guys also like the Epicenter because it takes normal bass and make it sound deep, fat, and fluffery and just go crazy. So there's, whatever turns you on as far as that goes. They made a 1200 watt amp and a 600 watt amp, which I think I've said like 3 times now. Now the cool thing about these amplifiers, well, there's several cool things. One of the cool things is these amps are strappable. So if you buy a 600 for whatever reason and you feel you need a second one, you can strap it and to one sub and do 1200 watts. Or the real use would be if you wanted to do 2400 watts, you could strap 2 of these bad boys to one woofer and go crazy.
Go be.
Whatever turns you on. Now they have inputs and outputs on them for that, which we'll show you in a second. So what we're going to do today is we're going to open the 600 because they're identical for the most part, other than the 1200 has a 0 gauge input with 3 40 amp fuses. This, well, you'll know what it has in a second. So let's go ahead and set that aside. Let's open this bad boy up. First thing in the box you're going to find is an owner's manual. Now AudioControls does you one solid. We all know these things get lost. And you're really going to want it for this amplifier because it has a lot of great insight on how to set the amplifier up. This was written in America by an American or a British guy. I don't know. But anyways, it's very down to earth. It's one of the funnest owner's manuals you will ever read. If you've ever read one. This is a really good owner's manual. Now, you can go to AudioControls' website and download this in a PDF form onto your phone. Very handy to have. That way if you forget something or you need to go in, or the protection, which we'll talk about in a minute, you might need to know what those lights mean. Download it to your phone. It's a great resource to have. You get an Allen key. You get the ARC3 bass knob. Okay, this is really cool. It clicks. And it has 2 lights, a blue and a red. When it's in red light, this is a subwoofer volume control. When it's in blue light, it's the effect control for the Epicenter built into the amplifier so that you can turn up and down the effect. Now, we went ahead and shot a second video on this that's going to show you that whole Epicenter and how it works. So make sure you check that out. We'll leave it in the comment or the show notes below. Alright, so what we have here is the amplifier. It has a fan built into it. It has 2 vents on the side, as well as one across here on the top. They also put a cool blue LED inside of it, so that you can see this whole little swoosh thing lit up. It looks real sexy. It's made out of 1 piece of aluminum. Top panel here comes off to reveal all the cool knobs, dials, and buttons below. So let's talk about those, shall we? Oh wait, you know what? Before we talk about those, let's give a couple specifications about the amplifier, because those are always cool. It has a frequency response of 16 to 250 hertz.
Oh.
Okay, it has a signal-to-noise ratio of 107 dBs, a reference point of 600 or 1200 watts, depending on what amp you're using, at 1 ohm. I know, right? Max power, basically. Damping factor of 770 at 10 volts, 4 ohms, at 100 hertz. Wow. It has total harmonic distortion of less than 1%. Ooh. So great specs. Let's talk about power real quick. This obviously is a 600 watt amp at 1 ohm. It is a 200 watt amp at 4 ohms, and it is a 350 watt amp at 2 ohms. The 1200 watt that we set aside over there is 1200 watts at 1 ohm. It is 750 watts at 2 ohms. And it is 400 watts at 4 ohms. So basically, if you got 110 and you want to put 400 watts to it and have the biggest amp you can, buy one of these. Whatever turns you on. So these are mono blocks, and they do have a left and right input. Now, what AudioControls does is they use a circuit called a balanced summing mixer. And what that does is if you have a source unit that actually has a left and right subwoofer output that is a true left and right subwoofer output, it'll go ahead and sum those two together and create a true summed subwoofer output. So if your device doesn't do it, it'll automatically do it for you. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead now. We've talked about all the good stuff and talk about even more good stuff. These things. This has two 40-amp fuses. It has 4-gauge input, has a remote turn-on input, which you may or may not need depending on whether or not you're doing high level, which is right here, or line level. This is the expansion bus input and the expansion bus output. So if you run your RCAs into here and you're going to do anything like run multiple versions of these, you can go out of here, or I'm sorry, in if this is number 2 amp and out if this is the number 1 amp. Your bass knob, the ARC3, goes right here. And here is your speaker level output. Now on the 1200, it does have a dual version of this. Even though it's mono, it has 2 positives and 2 negative outputs. Let's go ahead and tip the amp up and take a look at all the buttons and dials. Okay, the first thing to pop up is going to be your power light indicator. If the amp is on, this will be on. Second is going to be your protection. Now like we were saying, Audio Control has made this very useful. It's not just the light that turns on and tells you there's something that, it's like, hey, bad. No, it's going to blink or flash or do all kinds of stuff. And if you check the owner's manual, you can see what it means. So if you count the flashes, you say, oh, okay, blown speaker or something goofy like that. Next is your GTO circuit. This stands for great turn on. So if you're doing this high level, go ahead and turn this GTO circuit on, and the amplifier will generate a remote turn on for you. All you got to do is hook up power and ground. If you are running it to a aftermarket radio, go ahead and switch this off. Next is your epicenter. We're going to save that for last. You have your subsonic filter. It's either going to be 32 or 16 hertz. You have your low pass crossover, which is going to be adjustable between 30 and 250 hertz. It's a Linkwitz-Riley crossover, and it's a 24 dB per octave crossover. Next, you have your gain. As we're talking about gain, we're going to skip over here to these 2 lights right here. This is the gain maximized. What this will do is this will tell you when the output of the amplifier is clipping. So as you turn your gain up, you want to make sure this light stays off. But none of that means anything if you don't know if your source unit is clipping. Which brings you to this guy. This is the MILC source clip detector. If this guy's on, that means you're clipping your input on your amplifier. So you can turn down your source unit until this light goes off, and that'll be the clip. That'll tell you that you have a nice clean signal. So basically what we're getting at here is this will tell you when your radio is clipping, your input source is clipping, and when your output source is clipping. So you don't want to see these lights on. Don't let these blink. You don't want to see these on. That way you know you have the cleanest signal possible. Skipping back, we have the polarity, so you can do 0, 180 degrees out of phase. And then you have the bus mode output. So for that set of RCA's expansion bus, is this the source or is this the link? Source is number 1, link would be anything after that. But coming back to the epicenter, what you have is, as we talked about, the ARC3 has the red and blue lights that allow you to adjust, the blue will adjust the level of influence. You have an on-off switch, so go ahead and turn it on. You have sweep. Sweep is the frequency that you're trying to influence. It's going to be adjustable between 27 and 36 hertz. So you're going to pick one frequency. And then you're going to adjust the width. The width is how wide you want that influence to be around that frequency. So it's basically, do you want thin, do you want fat? Most of you want fat, so then you just adjust along here until you find where it sounds good. And then with the ARC3, you can turn up and down the volume for effect. Alright guys, that's the new amps. Pretty sexy, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know, right? Gosh, I like them a lot. Go ahead.
So thank you for watching. You guys can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
And as usual, please subscribe. We really like it. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask, and we'll answer those. If you want to know more about the actual epicenter part, like I said, we have a video up for that. You can find it in the show notes. Otherwise, have a great night. We'll see you later. Bye.